I didn't even know what the dark web, dark net was. And for those that most people are going to say, well, the visible internet versus the dark net, kind of explain the difference when I say that, what that means, you know.
Okay, sure. I think that most people see the internet as a great place to share your life, share your stories, do casual shopping online, buying gifts for people you love and care about. And there's a lot of people that do business online, and there's good business and then there's bad business. The bad business is essentially everything that's illegal or deemed illegal by the governments.
Okay. And explain the difference between, when someone says the visible web, which is like the Google and social media, versus what this dark net is, and how much of a percentage is the visible web, and how big and vast is this deep web part?
Sure. Well, thanks to the internet being sort of an open pool of information, the underground internet is probably larger than what anyone can characterize. It's for every good forum out there, there's a bad one where people are learning and sharing information about illegal activities. It's oceans big.
But it's not something that Joe Sixpack is going to be able to get on his computer and find. I mean, it is protected in a way, and
so really, yeah, the underground internet is definitely protected in a way. You can scratch at the surface. You can go in the first or second level fairly easily. This is things like downloading torrents, getting information on how to illegally get a CD or something like that. But really, truly, the dark, deep internet is based on a trust system of pre-existing hackers. And there's a network of them, all anonymous to each other. And this is all built on trust and just a name.
And so when you get on there, and for someone that doesn't understand, when I say you can't track it, I mean, how it works with Tor. I mean, how difficult is it to track information? I mean, to find, is it nearly impossible?
It is nearly impossible because this is not. We're not going after a physical being. You're going after someone who can change where they're located every hour or by the minute. They can change everything they want based on an IP address. I can show up as if I live in Africa right now, and I could talk to you on the internet, and then a minute later I can change and act like I'm coming to you from Russia.
And the other question I had, as far as basics for people that don't understand, explain to me bitcoins, because that's what everyone here, at least the research I've heard, uses. People say, how do you get bitcoins? What are bitcoins? What were they meant for, and what have they turned into?
Sure. Bitcoin is a digital currency. And essentially, it has taken the dollar bill and broken it up into many pieces, and it disperses it around the world, and it's stored on computers. And if you wanted to retrieve your Bitcoin, your actual physical money from that, you'd have to go to a Bitcoin ATM, or you can trade it online similar to a PayPal. So you can use digital-only currency to buy things on the internet, legal and illegal.
Okay, I talked to a dealer. So explain this statement to me, because I didn't understand it. He goes, these sites aren't actually selling. And this is like, I think, word for word. These sites aren't actually selling you the dope. They want them to have a good credit, so they put your money in an escrow. They wait until everything's signed off on either side, and then you get your money. Or they get their money. You get your dope. So explain that statement, because I have bitcoins. Let's say you're the drug dealer, and I'm online, and how does that transaction work, and how is it that I pay you anonymously? That's what I'm not having trouble understanding.
Yeah, sure. So I mean, ultimately, anyone in a business deal, good or bad, wants to make sure that they're getting paid for something that is of decent quality and is up to standard. So anytime some sort of drug deal goes down online, someone will use their Bitcoin account and send this payment to the other person. And what you're doing is you're allowing them access to a certain number. So we'll call it $100. You're paying them $100. It will sit in an account until the product is received. Once the product is received, it is inspected by the recipient, and they say, okay, yeah, it's great. Go ahead and send the money over.
And I guess my question is, how is that if you have a Bitcoin account, how is that not traceable? I mean, I couldn't.
True. So the Bitcoin account is technically not really traceable to a name per se, and you can take the money out anywhere in the world. Now, thanks to Bitcoin ATMs, if you log into an account, technically, if you have the Bitcoin number, the identifier of the account, you can trace that if someone takes the money out physically. But if you're only doing digital to digital transactions, if you're only buying something online, you can falsify your location whenever you're doing this. So you could show up at a public library, make a transaction happen, and then go to another location and do another transaction. And it's very difficult to track that for the government, because one library might act like it's in Africa and the other one might act like it's in Russia.
Okay, so those gotten some basic questions out there. Oh, one other one is explain Tor to me, because I hear Tor and I hear torrents, but I don't understand it. So I'm assuming that the older viewing audience that's going to be watching this may not understand what Tor is. What is Tor? What is the purpose? And what does it do once it's downloaded?
Okay.
Don't tell me how to do it.
Yeah.
But what is it, and what is the purpose? And
so torrents are basically a way to download a file in pieces the quickest way possible. And what it does is it looks a torrent program that allows you to download a file, looks for the person who has the file on their computer and has a fast internet connection. And what you do is you download the file from this person and to your computer. Now, if they have only a certain part of the file and another computer has the other part of the file, it puts them together and combines them into the completed file. And torrents work by taking pieces of a file around the world and putting it together and assembling it on your computer. And it does it the fastest way possible based on where your computers are located.
So I don't know how much you want to get into personal experience or things like that, but
Sure.
How smart are the people that are on this dark web? I mean, how quickly can you be jeopardized? How quickly can you get into things that are trouble?
I think that one of the reasons why the dark web is so successful is because there are certain levels of trust and communication that occur at a better level than our own governments have. Our governments are limited by bureaucracy, and the dark web is unlimited in terms of the communication and their ability to attack and force. So I do have personal friends who've been involved in situations where the government has come in and taken over their accounts and used them for their purposes to gain access into the dark web. And the government is doing, I think, a better job now than they did 10 years ago. But once again, the dark web, these hackers are communicating at a much faster rate than we are doing on the side of good.
And how quickly, I mean, for a parent or someone that may have a teenager or someone that's on there that can get on there, how quickly? And I was on there very briefly for this investigation, and I was very surface level. But how quickly can someone, if they want to, get in here, and how quickly can you get us in trouble?
It can happen overnight, really. You can gain access to information that can open up a whole new world. And, some of the red flags that you should look for is if a child's staying up late and doing research on the internet, that's great. I mean, you want to promote learning and knowledge, but definitely give them a good reputable place to take this information, whether it's whether the school's putting on a hackathon, or there's great organizations out there right now that are giving good white hat outlets for students and young children to use these abilities that they're learning online. But unfortunately, there are definitely some bad places on the internet where kids are going, and they may not come out from it until they're arrested.
Talk about how, I mean, I've read a little bit about how the dark web, not necessarily, or the deep web, not the dark net, but the deep web, why it was created. And I read, to allow human rights activists to report crime or report human rights things, and for people to protect bank accounts. What was the initial intent of the deep web? It was a good thing, right? It had a good.
So similar to the Second Amendment of the United States, where we have the right to bear arms, the internet has the right to incriminate government officials and people that are doing corrupt actions. And that's been a great thing in the case of Syria, where there were many corrupt actions taking place. And the Syrian government blocked the internet, but thanks to the deep web and anonymous people getting together, they were able to get information out to the media and the public about what was happening in Syria.
And so going over, let me see here.
I mean, the deep web essentially will allow you to overthrow governments, even thanks to free information and access to this free information.
Well, my last question, as far as I talked with the FBI and I've talked with, and you kind of hit on it.
Yeah.
But it's very, very difficult to track this, and that makes their job. And they've had some successes. I know Silk Road back in 2013, I believe. But this sector of the internet is evolving. Law enforcement trying to evolve with it. But what makes it so difficult, and how difficult is it? They're not going to tell me. Law enforcement's not going to tell me. But I mean, how difficult is it from someone that knows how it kind of works?
It's difficult enough to catch a thief after the fact in physical form, but the way that the internet works in catching a thief is you need one thief to do one action multiple times over and over and to get famous because of it. And at that point, the government will find out, and they begin to track that one individual. And it could take years before you gain enough information about where this individual hangs out, what they're doing, but it's always posthumous. It's always after the fact. You're always picking up the pieces later. It's difficult to predict what's going to happen next without being embedded into that culture.
And I saw the FBI hit. A lot of people get caught. They make mistakes, but a lot of the people on this are very, very smart, very, very careful. And you said there's a network of trust there that someone that's outside of it can't even understand. But these players are very, very smart, and they're always jumping around, changing. Right? It's not something that happened 3 weeks ago or 2 weeks ago. It's already changed the way it works.
Correct. I mean, it is moving very fast, and thanks to some of the trusted network on the dark web, people are able to determine, who is a government official or not. But ultimately, I think that the government has done a better job at embedding themselves in this, and really no one trusts anyone online. You don't know who's behind that computer. You don't know whether it's someone who's good, evil, or somewhere in between.
Perfect. All right. I think I've got my stuff, but as far as anything, do you want to get hit on, talk? Do you think it's important?
Sure. I think the important thing to understand about the way that the internet has progressed is that it was originally set up as, honestly, file sharing, a network to share files and information, and it has progressed to the point where information being shared now can overthrow governments, and it changes lives to the point where it is power. It's absolute power to have control of the internet, and this battle between anonymous people who believe what they're doing is good in many respects is being taken down by governments who also believe that what they're doing is good. And it's this constant battle of good versus evil. You know, who is the rightful owner of the internet? Is it the people or is it the government?
I guess that's a whole other story, whole other big
Yeah,
debate there.
ultimately, yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, and then you throw in the businesses. You know,
Yeah.
businesses want to control it because businesses are the ones that are providing the internet. There's the internet service providers, and then there's the people that consume the internet. So who owns it? The people who pay for it, the people who actually support it, or the governments that allow it.